Well, I am so honored to have my dear beloved sister, Karen, who I have known and loved. I feel like it's about 20 years now. Is that about right?
It feels, well, we go back lifetimes, but in this lifetime, yeah, maybe 10 or 20.
Welcome, love. So happy to have you here with us.
So grateful to be here.
And then Karen is just a vessel of love and wisdom. And so I'm so excited for our interview today. So excited for all the listeners as well. So I'd love to start with just, first of all, because for as long as I've known you, you've been deep into your spiritual path and the healing work that you do. So what was the catalyst for you?
The catalyst was, that old saying that when the student is ready, the teacher shows up. So the catalyst was the divine saying, it's now time for you to step into a more conscious path. And a teacher showed up in my life in the form of a waiter in a restaurant and started channeling information for me and about me. And it led me to start participating in his healing circles and stepping into experiencing my first energy work. It started me on a path of healing myself and getting to know myself, which then, to my surprise, translated into, no, this is actually what you're supposed to be doing to support others.
I love that. But I love that it started with the inward spiral. And that's really where it has to start. So, and then it was like, oh, this is what I'm meant to be doing. And I love that you say that. It's like, we think it's got to be on this pilgrimage, somewhere, but you were just at a restaurant. And I think you said your waiter, just started chatting.
My waiter.
I love that. So no matter what, we know that spirit, that connection is there. Wherever we are, that connection is there. So I love that.
Yeah, we're all teachers to each other. We're all students to each other. And have I had mystical, magical, experiences? Absolutely. But the beauty is when the teaching or the wisdom or the magic shows up in the ordinary.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so you had this experience, you went on a deep healing journey, and then it was like, oh, this is my purpose. This is the work I'm meant to be doing. So then share with us, like, how has that shown up, in what way, in what form?
So at that time, I was in my early 20s and just, filled with all of the questions that a 20-something-year-old is filled with about life and love and purpose. And at the time, my father his health started to go through to decline. So I started to walk towards the end of his human life, and stuff started to come up within me. And so I began to, embark on these different healing modalities and healing retreats, and quit my job in the corporate world and went to study body work. And one thing led to another. But the thing that kept me going forward was that life, just for the longest time, just this human experience, life just felt really hard. It felt very depressing to me. It felt really hard. And what I've learned through this continued exploration in healing myself and to exploring my consciousness and creating new meaning for all of my life experiences, it's opened me up to actually this constant surprise that actually life is pretty great. And where I used to be really, really depressed about it, I now feel really like I embrace it. I embrace every moment and am grateful for every moment. The really hard days, the really blissful days, they're all just filled with so much goodness and juiciness that enriches my life and also gives me the ability to have more of myself accessible to support others as well.
I love that. And so basically it's that saying life isn't happening to us, it's happening for us. So and it really is that shift in perspective. But in order to embody that shift, we have to, I think, first of all, have full acceptance. So it's a light in the dark, right? And then it's like, okay, well, this is just an experience. And a very wise woman said to me one time, which was yourself, you said, when I was telling you about something was going on in my life, you're like, well, Amanda, you got yourself into this, so you can get yourself out of this. And those words rang in my ear, they carried on. And I love it.
And that's what we do.
Yeah.
You know, we have these experiences in life, and we create beliefs around them, and we create stories, and all of that, it plays out in this beautiful theatrical stage that we are embracing. And it's the thing that happens is we get caught up in the story, and we get caught up in the humanness, and we forget, like, oh, I can actually change this, or maybe this story isn't actually even true anymore. Maybe it was at one point, but not anymore.
Oh, I love that. How we can transcend, transmute, transform energy. We can transform our energy, our beliefs, but even the past, and just make peace with it so it can transcend. You know, I love that. And you know, they say that, you know, if we've had traumatic experience and, you know, it's just repeat and repeat and repeat, we build it and build it when we build it like more than it ever actually was, you know. And so what does that do to our nervous system? What does that do to our thoughts, our emotions, you know? So I love that. I love that. So I know a huge piece of body of your work. I know you're extremely gifted with Akashic Records, doing ancestral work. I mean, I know you've got many priestess tools in that tool bag of yours. I know that, but I really, because I just think it's so powerful and so important, this ancestral piece. So would you speak to us, you know, when things come down the line, how do we know things and how do we work with that? Like, explain the process to us.
Sure. So one of the things that I love about working with the Akashic Records is that it gets to the crux of whatever our wound is, whatever our challenge is, whatever it is that we're bringing forward. And it's important to know that time is not linear. Time is actually something that we humans created. So when I work with a client and we're going into a situation, a challenge that they're having, what we can do is we look at their lineage. So their ancestral lineage that they've come back through, the relatives that they had, and also their genetic lineage. And what's interesting is that some of the stuff that we are carrying in our system is not even ours.
Absolutely.
You know, sometimes, like, one of our ancestors, you know, many lifetimes ago might have had a broken heart. You know, they had a broken heart with a relationship they were in. And in that moment, they made this choice that, you know, I am never going to open my heart ever again. And they make this as a vow to themselves, which then gets passed through. It gets passed on to their ancestors. So, you know, 2-3 layers down the line is this beautiful being, you, that comes here with this unconscious belief that I'm not opening my heart. And so, and you can see it play out in, you know, when you go to the doctor, what's the first thing they ask you? Do you have any history of this in your family? Yeah. And so, you know, that's one way that you can start to connect the dots in your own lineage, is to check it, see what the health is. You know, is there a history of heart issues that comes through? And so the beauty about bringing healing to, coming back to the story about the broken heart, by bringing awareness and healing to your story around your broken heart, you not only bring healing to yourself and your future self and your future lineage, the healing goes back up the other way and brings healing to your ancestors, and it frees them, which is so important in this time.
Yeah, and it's just this ripple effect backwards and forward. And, you know, even for, you know, sometimes people say, well, I don't have children, but we're talking about all the children of the earth. We're talking about even nieces and nephews, like, you know, humanity in general. So anytime we're doing this work on ourselves, we're working past and future in the line. So I love that. I love that. So what are some ways? So if somebody's like, oh my gosh, you know, because I've had to do a lot of work on the ancestral line with stuff from both sides, but certain experience that kept repeating themselves. And so I had to really go deep in that and be like, okay, it's stopping here. Like, it's not, I'm not going to pass this on to my kids, you know, let's clear the way here. So if somebody came and said, okay, my mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, great-great-grandmother, all were not in good relationships. Let's just say, we'll use that as an example. How and where would you start working with that?
Well, when I work with the Akashic Records, I open up to the infinite field of wisdom that the Akasha are. And for people that don't know what the Akashic Records are, it is an infinite field of wisdom that houses all of the information about really everything. But more specifically to you, it's about your soul. So every lifetime you've ever had, every person you've ever known, every relationship you've ever been in, every job you've ever held, every thought you've ever had is all stored in this field of wisdom. And the field is not only, you know, this living library that exists in the universe, it's also a living library that exists within your body. And so working with the Akasha, I work with these beautiful beings, these masters, teachers, loved ones, these guides, angels, ascended masters, whoever it is that is present for the client. And there's different ways that we go in. I do a lot of listening to where they guide me. And they always surprise me because sometimes things come out of my mouth that I have absolutely no way of knowing. And clients are like, oh yeah, that happened. Or that's,
you're just channeling, really.
yeah. Channeling.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. And then it just starts to free up the energy. And then it's almost like the light is shone on whatever it is that's come through. And then it's such a powerful thing as well, when you to connect the dots. Like, oh my God. So it's like, once consciousness is brought to something, it automatically starts to dissipate, right? So let's see, so you have this awareness, you're like, okay, this is happening in the line. You go into the Akashic Records, information is channeled down. Is there any specific kind of exercises that the person can work with in order to carry on working with that energy?
Yeah, and it really, the homework, as I like to call it, or the play work, it's often custom tailored for the individual person. For example, I had a client recently who is working through a lot of relationship stuff and holds a belief that she can't, she wants to be in a partnership, but she doesn't, you know, she doesn't think that she can hug herself. And so what the records came through and said is, well, that's your homework, is to practice hugging yourself.
Oh, I love
to hug yourself the same way that you do your children, so that you can start to receive the love that, like, it's important to be able to give yourself the love that you want to receive, so that you become a match, a vibrational match for it. So yeah, the records are they have a very good sense of humor too. So
I love that.
Yeah,
as do you.
absolutely. And
I know that you have been doing a lot of your own ancestral healing over the years as well. Would you like to share a little bit of that with us?
Yeah, sure. So what's interesting about this work is that, and really about life in general, is that you really already hold so much wisdom and knowing within yourself. So throughout my entire life, since I was a little girl, I have been obsessed with all things English. Like, I was born in America, and growing up, instead of having like an American flag, I wanted a British flag. Like, that's just where I was. And then Amanda, I had the pleasure and privilege of joining Amanda on her tour around Ireland. which also to me felt like a homeland. And everywhere I went, everybody thought I was Irish. And
I remember it like it was yesterday.
yeah. And just a few years ago, I found out, well, and that's the one more piece, which is that throughout my entire life, I always felt that there was a little bit of a dissonance that was in my system. Something didn't feel quite right, even though I was raised by my parents who had a loving relationship with each other and a loving relationship with me up until at the time my father passed away. And a few years ago, through the brilliance of, genetic testing, 23andMe, I found out that I was actually the product of a sperm donor. So the father that I was raised with was not the DNA that I have in my body. And the DNA that I have in my body is English and Irish and
Getting
Scottish.
major chills. So I'd like to go back a little bit on that. So you're just one of those people. It's like, stop looking into my soul the whole time you're talking to me. Stop, give me some privacy. Stop reading my thoughts. Stop it. It's like, so you're deeply intuitive, like, you're a seer, you're a light worker. And so having that slight feeling like this beautiful family, but this slight feeling of something's just not quite right here, and this deep inner knowing. So what was it? What was the catalyst, or what was the reason, which it never always is, but it gets us to do it, that made you go, I'm going to go do this genetic testing? Like, what was it?
It was actually pretty funny. So I have always been interested in my lineage. Ever since I was a little girl. And I don't know why, but there was a story that through my mom who said she believed that you shouldn't start looking into all of that stuff. Like she came from a lot of superstition. Her mother was very superstitious. And so there was a lot of fear about doing things. And my sister was the one who decided one day she was going to do her DNA testing, because we were both raised Jewish. She looks less Jewish than I do. And her test came back and it said that she had a brother. And so she reached out to me and she's like, I think that there's something wrong with this test because it says that I have this brother. And so she's like, you do the test. And it was the perfect excuse for me because I'd been so desiring to learn more about my own lineage. And lo and behold, I did the test and it opened up a whole, I want to say, in the human way, you could say it opened up a can of worms. But what it did on a deep level was it brought freedom. It brought, even though there was no intentional secrecy, without going too much into, the whys, but behind why I had a sperm donor for a father. My dad had some health issues. So there was no intentional secrecy. But it was there underneath the surface, which is what I was feeling energetically. And so once I had that awareness, it was like, oh, like that made sense.
Well, I have to say, as somebody who loves and adores you, I got to witness that unbelievable freedom after, like, it feels like you discover something like that and you're like, here's the truth of what I've really been feeling, right? And so there's something about, okay, I have really been feeling that, and that is true. And then, I think at first, sometimes experiences like this can really, we really have to sit with them and they can turn some things upside down for a while. But when we get shaken up, it's good for us, right? Transformation. It doesn't always have to look and feel that way, but sometimes when it's really big, it does. But I have to say, as your conscious, compassionate, loving witness, I can see that freedom. Like, I can feel that freedom. And I'm so happy for you, Beautiful.
Yeah. And one of the sweetest pieces was I actually had the opportunity to meet my sperm donor.
Wow.
My sperm donor father. I called him Bio Dad. And it was just this instant, like, even though I didn't know him, I wasn't raised by him, there was a twinkle in his eye that we shared together for a moment. And we had just the the most beautiful connection. And it just, again, it opened something in my system that like opened another pathway to my lineage, like on an energetic level. It felt like a lineage path to my magic.
That is so beautiful. So beautiful.
Mhm.
And is he in England or?
No, he is, he passed away a couple of years ago, but he was living in Virginia.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that, love. And so,
Sure.
and then that inner freedom, that kind of spiritual freedom, and I think it's like that physical freedom, like, it's just verifying something that, I mean, having a beautiful family, but just having that inner knowing, maybe something, some peace. How did that shift things then in your life?
It was like an energetic out of my system, because it gave me a sense of peace and closure that I never knew I even needed or wanted. And it gave me, just a sense of closure, that I have a deeper sense of who I am.
That's beautiful. That's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. I know what you mean. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Oh, you're amazing. So I'd love to then, so I suppose then, did you notice a shift in your own kind of, like, I mean, with your sister, family members extending, and then like, it feels like there was an expansion in your work and in relationship and in all areas, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The healing process is sometimes messy. So, but it brought a lot of meaningful conversations into my family. And ultimately, I really believe that secrets they're damaging. They can cause health issues. They're constrictive, they hold you back. And so as we free ourselves, it opens up everything. That pressure, like these burdens that we carry around, they can feel poisonous to our system.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, because here's the thing. If you're keeping something a secret, there's a reason why you need to keep. And my daughter, she's like, "Mom, tell me about secrets and what's the difference between surprise and secret?" I was like, "Okay, so here's the difference. Your birthday's coming up. There's a surprise for your birthday." But a secret is, I can't tell anybody this, and it doesn't feel good. And so then it's just like that's that energy. And you're right, it doesn't feel good in your physical, emotional, mental body. And just being told you can't tell anybody this, it's just, that's like we can expand or we can contract. And it's just like contraction, contraction, contraction. And with this raising consciousness night, no, it's freedom, it's truth, it's connection. And if it's not that, then I'm not dancing in that realm with you, so.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that, love. So I'd love to kind of get a little bit now into the work that you're doing with the Akashic Records. So you kind of linked it in with the ancestral, but I know there's a lot of other pieces to it. So will you kind of elaborate a little bit more for beloveds that, I love that it's this field of infinite consciousness, and it's like your soul blueprint in some ways. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I guess what I want to share about that is, like you, like many of us, we are here on this planet at this time for a very important reason. There's so much change and transformation going on, and a lot of people talk about a tipping point. And, the word ascension is thrown around a lot. And the way that I interpret that is that we're going through a frequency shift. The energy of our planet, of our consciousness, of ourselves is being raised. And in order to embrace and embody these higher vibrations, which are really connected to this new age and this new earth that we are all co-creating together. And this new earth it's a place that is very different than what a lot of us are experiencing in our humanity, and a lot of what we have been experiencing does no longer exist in this new place that we're all co-creating. And why the ancestral healing piece falls into that is because, just like we were talking about the energy of the secrets and how heavy they are, those secrets, that energy is infused with feelings of shame, of worthlessness, of lack consciousness, of, lots of yucky feelings. And those hold very low vibrations. And it's not that there's anything bad with that, but our ancestors are literally tapping us on our shoulders and saying, okay, it's time. It's time.
Wake up.
I want to be freed. It's time to bring this to light. So our ancestors are also supporting the ascension of our planet. And so as we bring healing to ourselves, we are shifting the energy within ourselves. We are raising the frequency within ourselves. And we're also freeing our whole lineage of ancestors, which is creating space for even more light to be grounded here within the earth, within ourselves, within all of life.
So beautiful. And just even as you speak to that, I can just feel that freedom within. I can feel that expansion. So I think even just showing up, and even just you sharing now, this is the truth, this is what I experienced, this is the reveal, this is the freedom, like that shifts consciousness, and these conversations. And then obviously it's not just about the conversations, but it's then the action or the non-action, right? As we know, just feeling into it. As you said, there's different homework per person, what the soul needs. So thank you for all this incredible work that you do, and thank you for sharing this. And I'd love to ask, because you do this beautiful work, and you really, you're just a beacon of love and help so many people. So we know how important it is that we fill up our own cup. So what are some practices that you could maybe share with us, teach us about, that really keep your vibration high, maybe that you do in your home, that you do physically, emotionally, spiritually? We'd love to hear.
So it's a great question. And I feel like it's always evolving as I keep changing. My system requires different things. So the first and foremost is rest. So much of us, I have somebody who tends to be more of a pusher through things, and I trudge through things. And so I can be a little hard-headed when it comes to learning. But one of the things that I've learned is really giving myself time to rest. And that's not just going to sleep at night. It's sometimes just letting yourself be. And so sometimes, like all of us, we have very full days. We have back-to-back everything. And so every morning I do this one simple thing that is really been, it's quick and it's easy, and it's like an instant reset that brings me into presence, which is I do a quick little yoga, stretch, and then I take 5 breaths 5 deep breaths. And as I breathe, I give myself permission to not think of anything, which for somebody we're all busy and there's a gazillion thoughts running through our head all the time. 5 breaths of just simple being. And it's interesting what will come in. Sometimes there's an intention that will come in, or just a sense of grounding. And it brings me to, that saying of becoming the calm within the storm. It's like that. It gives me that anchoring of becoming the calm within the chaos that we are all.
Yeah, it's the space, it's the pause, and That's so vitally important, as you said, like what, 70 to 80,000 thoughts a day.
Yeah.
And a whole lot of them are the same as yesterday and the day before. So, and our thoughts really attract our reality. So it's like, imagine that you just start your day off with that space.
Yeah.
To allow that kind of infinite potential to come in. That's basically, I love that. So, and I as long as I've known you, you've had a rolled up yoga mat under your arm. So I know that's been a practice for a long time. So I love that you start your day with yoga, you do your breath, and I hear you. It's different. And the other thing I want to ask about, you talk about rest, and I feel like we can have I've got 3 minutes for a rest, or I've got like, wow, I've got like a day. You know, 3 minutes might be I'll lay in my bed and just breathe for a few minutes, or it could be like, so, or it could be a walk in the forest, but sometimes even a walk in the forest is too much when you just really need to rest. So when you say rest, like, give us a picture of what that would be like.
For some, it could just be those 5 breaths.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because just acknowledging the act of doing nothing is sometimes all we need. For me, sometimes I tend to be more of an introvert. So when I'm out in the world, there's a lot of energy. And so I need to be in just quiet. I need to be in the quiet, in the dark.
Sister. I mean, I think as one sister to another, empaths, like, we're just constantly seeing, feeling, downloading, and then it's just like, okay, I just need to step away, have quiet, and just pause and recharge and have silence.
Yeah. To be in silence there's such healing in the quiet, without our phones, without our life around us, without all the media, to just, sit in silence and to let that silence recalibrate us.
Yeah. Okay. That's beautiful. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So then throughout your day, so what are some of the others? So you start your morning, but then you go throughout your day and things happen and experience happen. Do you have other practices? And I get that there's varied ones and it depends on the day and, you know, the season and all of that.
Yes.
Is there any other?
Yeah. So one of the things that has been a new favorite practice of mine since I got a puppy this year who I call her my little disruptor. She's also my little shaman because she's teaching me so much. And so for any of you that have had puppies or, kids, everything becomes chaos and a lot messier and beautiful in so many ways. And so there's just more to tend to.
We mentioned 2 goats, 8 chickens, 2 dogs, a couple of donkeys, 2. We're talking, forget about it. Just talk.
So you know exactly. And I know, yes. And I've been to your parents' farm and I know all there's so much beauty there. But anyway, my practice is to tend to whatever is in front of me. Whatever is in front of me, if I am walking by, a towel that got dropped on the floor, I pick it up. And so it creates, I don't know, things gets kind of straightened up as I move along, and this to-do doesn't build up like, oh, I have to go back and do that. And so there's like a double-sided beauty to that, because one, things get tidied up a lot easier, but it takes the pressure off of, oh, I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to do that. Just tend to this. It also keeps me in presence. And in the present is where everything exists. Yeah. And it really is all that matters.
Yeah, that's the magic, isn't it? That's the alchemy. Yeah, I'm right there.
Yeah.
Oh, so beautiful. I mean, I just like want to chat for hours and hours and hours. I feel like we're just touching surfaces. But would you like to share with us just a little bit about how people can get a hold of you and offerings? And I know you do gatherings and everything. Would you like to share a little bit of that with us? And we'll have all your links in the show.
Sure. Thank you. So you can reach me through social media. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I offer a monthly free healing circle.
What's your name on Instagram?
It's Karen J. Goldstein. And on Facebook, I'm also Karen Goldstein. I also have a group called Cosmic Love Notes. And through that, I offer free monthly gatherings where I open up the Akashic field and feel into the energy of the collective. And I lead beautiful beings on a guided journey where my intention is to create a place to land for where we can come and reset and receive and let go of our doing and be held and receive
That's divine.
healing.
Oh, divine. And we'll have all of that in the show notes. And that's so beautiful. You offer these free monthly gatherings and social media. And is there anything exciting that you can tell us that it's in kind of creation mode, or you're planning to put out in the world? Is there a book? I feel like there's definitely a book.
I'm writing. Yeah, there's something cooking within me as far as writing. But right now I'm dedicated to expanding. And so I'm offering Akashic consultations, and I have deeper dives, longer, 6 or 12 month immersions together. I have some in-person and virtual offerings that are available. And I love all things energy, and I have a lot of tools in my tool bag besides the Akashic Records, and I've studied breath work and different forms of energy work. And so
Feng Shui.
And Feng Shui, of course, with the amazing Amanda, who's what a gift to study with you.
We've had fun together. And here's to more fun.
Absolutely.
Oh, this has just been a pure joy. My beloved sister, just getting to commune, and like, you just have the most beautiful heart. And we've said this before, we may not like connect for a while, and we may be 5,000, 6,000 miles apart, but like there's no time and space, and we just chat, and it's just like, yeah. So I'm so grateful for that, and I love you, and thank you for all the wisdom that you've shared with us here today.
Thank you so much for this invitation, and it's just, my heart is just overjoyed being here with you.
Thank you, my love. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody.